Got a big week of skiing coming up later this week. The ski jumping world championships. And one of the members of the United States team this year is Tate Franz, 19-year-old sensation from a local Olympic village, Lake Placid. Tate, thanks for joining me late at night. I'm curious, what is kind of like the week leading up like when you're getting ready for one of these big events? No, the full season has been going on for quite some time now, but when you got the world championships, you're about a week away. How are you preparing for what's going to take place at the end of the week?
Yeah, so obviously, as most people would think, we have quite a lot of training going on, a lot of kind of physical prep, but also equipment preparations getting done. But at the same time, the week is quite a bit more relaxing and more chill than you might imagine. For example, I about 5 minutes ago just got a call from our head coach, and I'm heading out to go ice fishing with him all day tomorrow. So it definitely is a good mix of hard training and kind of these final preparations, but at the same time kind of coming off of a big period and going into another big period, it's really important for, us and especially myself to definitely take some days to, do something else, keep the mind kind of at ease. Because I think if you're going 100% for a couple of weeks in a row, it's easy to kind of dig yourself into a hole. And it's, it's important to, take a little bit of time, do something else, kind of just have some fun, be a normal kid, and then, go full gas at the end of the week.
You mentioned being a normal kid. You're just 19 years old, but the sport has completely taken over your life really since you were a teenager and kind of developing into it. What's that like hitting the road, or not even hitting the road, making long flights across the country and across the world to develop in this sport? Because it really is a sport that is predominantly, historically at least, like Eastern European countries that have really had a lot of success in it. So as an American, what was it like kind of going up through the system?
Yeah, it's definitely, different and getting these experiences that are quite rare. And, all of my peers back home, never really got to experience anything kind of like the sort of upbringing I did through the sport. I'm, really lucky and really grateful for that experience. But ski jumping being such a European, based and dominant sport, we're spending 10, 11 months of the year over here in Europe. And since ski jumping, is a sport where you're traveling a lot. I was traveling quite a bit from a young age. It was 11 or 12. I was traveling Alaska and Utah and Colorado, so kind of within the U.S. and then sort of breaking out and traveling more to Europe. And then now I'm spending, 90% of my year over here in Europe just living here. So it's something that I definitely got used to and never really noticed a huge sort of change. But when somebody kind of looks into my life and my upbringing, definitely is very strange, and people start to ask questions kind of how I was able to do with being away when I was so young, kind of how my parents dealt with it. But I wasn't just thrown into it. I was kind of raised into it, and for me it's normal, and I love being on the road, and I'm grateful for all the places I get to see and the jumps we get to compete on and everything. It's a pretty unbelievable life I get to live, and I'm grateful every day for it.
Going off of that, what's the favorite place of yours, or one of the favorites that you've been able to travel along your ski jumping journey?
I definitely think I'd have to go with Sapporo, Japan. It's just such a different kind of culture and experience, and I think that most of the competitors say it's more of a trip, where you're talking about the food and the city in general rather than the actual competition. So it's a fun weekend.
And you're still so young in the sports, although there are competitors that are even younger than you. What's kind of the dynamic between the people in the sport that are younger and having a lot of success, but still kind of have a lot of room to grow in their careers versus the people that have been doing it for many years? Are you able to, I guess, take expertise from them, or how does your kind of development continue now that you're at this level?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a strange sort of experience, I would say, coming up and being 18, 19 on the World Cup circuit. And kind of now that I'm higher ranked, I'm sort of jumping kind of blended in with these Olympians and guys that are 20, 30 years old and have been doing it for, kind of as long as I've been alive. So for me, I kind of take the mindset of, even if I'm beating one of these guys that has an Olympic gold from just 2 years ago or something like that, they've been around a lot longer than me. They have a lot more experience than me. So even if my name is above them in the results list, I think there's still an unbelievable amount to kind of learn and take from just how they go about a competition or a training day. So I definitely like go into each training and competition sort of open-minded and ready to learn something because this is really only my second year on the World Cup circuit. So I definitely think there's a lot to learn, a lot of experience to be gained, and I think it's important to kind of have that open mind.
With it being less than a year out from the Winter Olympics, is that something that creates any additional urgency, or is in the back of your mind even more now as you get closer and closer to potentially trying to be on the U.S. team?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important to not get too far ahead of ourselves and kind of focus on what's going on now. But at the same time, that is definitely something that's in the back of our mind. The qualification period has kind of already started, and coming into this summer, it's going to be more important than ever. So I've tried not to think about it too much on the daily, but when it gets brought up, yeah, I get pretty kind of excited, little butterflies in my stomach, and just kind of looking forward to hopefully getting that experience.
What's something that you're preparing for in this upcoming week in the World Championships as far as the actual jump goes, and how much does the strategy change from each stop on the World Cup to World Championships, and how you're attacking these different events?
Yeah, ski jumping is a very kind of technically and mental based sport. So at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter about what hill you're jumping, what kind of stop is, like what town you're in. A good ski jump is going to be a good ski jump wherever you are. So for me, my main focus is to kind of just I know the sort of basic what I have to do. I've seen that it can get very, very good results in the last couple of weeks. So I'm just trying to keep my mind at ease, stay kind of relaxed, and not get too far ahead of myself. Just focus on what I know I'm able to do, and not trying to complicate it. And just treating this World Championship competition like any other competition, because at the end of the day, if I'm able to just do the same jump, the same good technique that I'm capable of, the results will come, and I know my name will be quite high up on that list. So I just gotta make sure that I'm able to keep it simple and be able to do that.
I think it's impressive, the maturity, the way you're thinking about these things. As a 19-year-old, how have you kind of developed this sense of pragmatic approach when you're doing a sport where you're literally flinging yourself far into the air at high speeds? And like you mentioned, there's very little margins in terms of what is a great jump and what could be a disastrous one.
Yeah, for me, like I said, growing up in the sport, ski jumping has just become normal to me. So I'm not as much thinking about the sort of external factors that a spectator might be thinking about, flinging yourself off one of those big jumps. But the sort of mental side of things is something I've tried to focus on a little bit more lately. I'm lucky enough that my mother is a yoga teacher, a yoga instructor. So she definitely has a lot of sort of, meditation tips, and she's been able to actually help out the U.S. team, and we've had training camps in Lake Placid. And I've also kind of been working with a sports psychiatrist as well, just kind of trying to go into things with a more positive mindset, and not trying to worry about things that are out of my control. And I think that's been a really important kind of step to take, in the sense of, sports, especially ski jumping, are just as much mental as they are physical. And it's really important to train that mental side of things. You can spend countless hours in the gym or on the hill training and training and training, but if your head's not in the right place, it's not going to work. So, and I think it's really important for athletes in general to just kind of focus on that.
The mental side of any sport is something that is getting increasing attention. You mentioned like sports psychologists. There are teams, NBA, NFL, MLB teams that now have sports psychologists that work specifically with the team. Is there anything that you're doing literally specifically before the jump, or is it mostly in the lead up to the preparation? How are you kind of dividing up how you are trying to practice mindfulness to get the best results?
Yeah, in a day-to-day sense, I've been trying to, like I said, especially on a competition day, I think it's really important to not focus on things that are out of my control as much. For example, if it's raining or it's really windy, I'm not going to be able to do anything about that. Everyone's probably going to be sitting at the top of the hill thinking, damn, this is not very fun to kind of sit here in or something like that. And if you can kind of throw that outside of your mind and your thought bubble, I think it'll allow you to kind of focus on what's kind of more important. And I've just been working with some specialists about sort of just tactics and techniques that I can use on a competition day or before I jump to sort of really try to just focus on the couple of tasks that my coach and I have talked about, and try to just limit the external factors kind of getting into my head and kind of plaguing and dragging me down. Especially when we're jumping in stadiums that are packed full of 25,000, 30,000 people. It can definitely be sort of like an added stress factor thinking about all these different things that are going on at once. And if I can just sort of dial into my own head and my own body and just kind of let my muscles take over, I think that's when I'm able to jump my best.
You mentioned jumping in the stadiums. What is the atmosphere like when you're going over to Europe? For example, I found it interesting that not this past ski jumping World Cup in Lake Placid, but I think it was last year. I was shocked at how many like Polish fans and how prideful they were and how excited they were for ski jumping. It's clear that it's a much bigger sport in terms of fandom in Europe. So from your perspective, what is it like jumping in these competitions where the sport is maybe on a bit of a bigger stage than some of what it is back here in the United States?
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of a spin from traveling from the U.S. and then getting over here into Europe, and especially Germany and Poland, I would say, where ski jumping is treated like the NBA is in the U.S. and ski jumpers are like the pop stars in a lot of these countries. And going to a jump in Germany or in Poland where there's 30,000 people in the stadium and it's unbelievably loud and everyone's so excited to be there, and then you can't even walk to the grocery store without getting stopped and taking pictures and signing autographs. Even as an American, I have a very large fan base over there, so it's definitely really really kind of fun to be a part of it because it's such a contrast from being home in the US where a lot of people are wondering what the heck ski jumping even is, and then I get off a plane over at a competition in Poland and a crowd surrounds you asking for pictures, and it's sort of fun to play along with because it's not an experience you get every day. So I really enjoy it, and I think I'm kind of a social person in that sense. So yeah, I like it.
To that point, I'm curious. As you mentioned, you spend most of your time in Europe training, competing. Is there anything that when you come back to the United States that you miss food wise, going somewhere, doing something? Is there anything in particular that you specifically, you're like, every time I'm back, I gotta do this, gotta eat this?
Yeah, definitely a lot of it is food based, and I'd say the two biggest things are Mexican and barbecue. So just this past week, I took 3 medals at the Junior World Championships, and the final night went out to a big barbecue feast with my family, and I think that's something that's really hard to get, at least good quality barbecue over here. So definitely a big craving of mine that I have when I'm back stateside.
Alrighty. Well, again, good luck in the upcoming World Championships. Thanks for taking some time, and we'll be keeping an eye out for you not only this week, but potentially in the upcoming Winter Olympics now just under a year away. Appreciate it, Tate.
Absolutely, thank you.